Hey guys, Drifter here. I've got some bad news for you if you're planning on playing Black Ops 3 on last-gen consoles. And that news is that both last-gen versions of BO3 will only run at 30 frames per second. I'll say that again, the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 Black Ops 3s are only going to be 30 FPS. Beenox, which is one of the developers in charge of porting Black Ops 3 from next-gen to last-gen, or current-gen to last-gen, however you want to say it, put out a press statement earlier this morning that said they tried really hard to hit 60 FPS, but it becomes much harder when you're working on the old platforms. They said right now we're basically looking at something more like 30 FPS, but still the experience is very enjoyable, otherwise it's not Call of Duty. That is very unfortunate for last generation players who are already missing campaign. He said the studio tried very hard to maintain as many features as possible, but were stuck within the limitations of the older consoles, and ultimately they were forced to make some concessions. This I am not really that surprised about. When you think about it, what they're doing is they're taking what Treyarch made and they're trying to find a way to make it work on last-gen consoles, Xbox 360 and PS3. This involves scaling down the textures, making them crappier, decreasing the polygons, making less of them, making simpler structures and shapes, and just kind of cutting corners and trying to force this console to do that. However, we've got new movement systems. The games were initially not designed for last-gen consoles. They're just being ported, so they didn't have that kind of consideration in there. They couldn't do the campaign either for time, for budget, or simply for practicality reasons, and this is just kind of poopy if you're on last gen. And it's also different because 30 FPS is new for Call of Duty. I have never heard of a Call of Duty game running at 30 FPS unless it's running on like an old crap top computer, you know, something that's not doing very great. Every single Call of Duty game that has come out for every single console up until this point has been 60 FPS, with the exception, I think some of the Wii versions ran a slightly lower frame rate, but that was designed for a very casual audience anyway. 30 FPS, while not preferred, isn't inherently bad. If you think about it, Destiny is a 30 FPS game, and I think it works okay for Destiny. I like 60, but that's fine. The Halo games, I don't think the more recent ones, but the older ones are all 30 FPS games. And Battlefield 4 on last-gen consoles, like if you played BF4 on PS3 or Xbox 360, which was an ugly mess for entirely different reasons, were about 30 FPS as well. So there are some games that can kind of make that work, but it's really not great feeling for an FPS. Most FPSs don't go for this kind of thing because it has a tendency to make the games feel a little bit slower. It makes you feel like your reaction time is not on par. Everything doesn't quite feel as fast. So that's why slower games like Destiny and Halo can do fine with it, whereas Call of Duty might not be so great. And last gen already doesn't get campaign, and they don't get any of the arena mode or esports features, and now they're playing on 30 FPS. I'm not very optimistic about the last gen version. If I were you guys, I probably wouldn't be getting this game on last gen. I'd be saving up to upgrade around Christmas, especially because the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One both got price drops. Or you could join the glorious PC Master Race. Anyway, I know it sucks, but the consoles are ultimately super old. They're over a decade old, and your phones are more powerful, so it'd honestly be easier to port Black Ops 3 to a phone than to port it to the Xbox 360 at this point. Guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.